I'm looking directly into the sun, and that way all of those who want to close in on my pupils to see what they look like, you can do that. I get a real kick out of some of these people that come on the channel and make these really crazy accusations. Anyway, hey, we're closing in on Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year, and I just wanted to say, maybe this year we don't worry so much about getting the trendy little games and electronics and gadgets and the things that really don't matter a whole lot. Maybe we can worry a little bit more about obtaining the tools and the supplies necessary to help our families sustain themselves through a crisis. So that's kind of where I wanted to start out. Anybody who's watching what's going on, I sometimes beat a dead horse, but two things are important to me as far as preparations. One is to get right in our heart, like I've always said, and two, try to get together the things that you need to survive a problem and to stay on top of what's happening in the world. The idea of keeping our ears to the ground and our eyes on the horizon. A lot of things happening, a lot that you don't see, that you really don't know about. And I'm not going to go into all the details, but just for a few small items. The first being that the Forbes magazine article that came out, they've done a lot of stories on this whole craziness that's going on, but this one that came out here just in the last day or so, the link is in the description box below. And by the way, those of you who aren't sure how to do that, I've had some questions on this. No, you can't just click on that in the description box. You have to highlight it, copy it, and then paste it to the window up above where you put the websites to go to. But at any rate, the link is there, and what I like about this is that people like those retired military and vets who have been warning about these things that are coming and telling people to get ready and what the government's doing. We've been maligned quite a bit, been called alarmists, paranoids, schizophrenics, different defamations going on out there. Read this article from Forbes. This is kind of a vindication. It's really kind of cool, really, to see that these things are coming out. And I have a special thing I want to say to McCain, again, my old nemesis, the one guy in government that I wish I could go toe-to-toe, nose-to-nose with. Oh, there are a lot of them, of course, but this guy, he's a rhino of the first class type. Month back or whatever, he jumped on Ted Cruz and said, you guys are on a fool's errand for trying to defund Obamacare. And now what did he come out with just the last week? Sorry about the jet going over and the little bit of wind we're having. Oh, we might need to defund Obamacare. This guy doesn't know what's going on in his world, or he's deliberately clouding the issues. And not for yours, but your benefit and mine. It's for his own. So McCain, you and I still have a problem. But all like him in government, he's just a good example of the crap and the sleaze that we're having to deal with over there. Obama violates the Constitution, and in this Forbes article they explain it. And what does Congress do? Oh, Forbes makes a good point of it. They asked him to postpone the individual mandate. Congress, it's your job on this law business. Don't ask the president to do something that's your job. But you've been doing that for a long time. You gave over the responsibility for coining money to the Federal Reserve. You just hand all this stuff out so you guys just get your perks. You get to do your inside trading. You get to be exempt from laws that the rest of us are responsible for obeying. Of course, you're not really. Those are all illegal laws. They're titles of nobility, as I've explained before. But the Forbes article is really good, and yes, a lot of us need this information out there because, you know, we're just small fries. Even the big, you know, alternative media people still don't reach the kind of people that need to be reached. So along those lines, you know, it really is, as I said all along, time to choose a side. You know, choose the good, choose the bad, you know, whichever. Go ahead and choose a side. This thing with Ison, you know, I've talked about it a little bit. Some things about that particular comet or whatever it is are changing. I think this does have to do with the frequencies that might be influencing life and DNA. I don't know what's going to happen with this. I really don't. But, you know, if it caused some other significant solar activity, life as we know it with all of our electronic gadgets could come to a halt real quick. And you know what? I think that's a good thing. Yeah, it'll cause some havoc in, you know, food production and water and, you know, transportation and communications. But a lot of that stuff is being used by the evil side to really hurt us. Maybe we need a little wake-up call and trust in God. Let him talk to us, because we're not hearing it through all this buzz and interference that they pump into us every day. And along those lines, you know, we see some things starting to happen. Military, as I've said before, active guys, and bide your oath. If you don't want to stand up, if you don't feel constitutionally you can, I understand. But when the people rise up, don't rise up against them. Stand down, please. The cops are, by and large, too stupid, frankly, these days. I don't have a lot of trust in police officers. The things I see going on, you know, they're getting hired because they're the way they are. So I don't really know if there's much use in trying to get them to, you know, stand down or to take the right side. Oh, there are lots that will, of course, but probably not in the numbers that we need. Well, you know, I brought up the situation with the Coast Guard District 7 getting shut down last summer, and then we had the situation with the Dias nukes you know, disappearing, and we had the same problem out of Montana a few years ago. There's some chatter going on some of these alternative media sites, and no, I haven't vetted them all. More of the more reliable ones aren't talking about this, so you know, I'm not sure what to make of it. But apparently there was a false flag prepared by the powers that be for the East Coast, specifically South Carolina, last October. And that whole nuke thing with the commanders and all that kind of pointed to something going on. No, I still don't know the details of that. I do want to tell you this. I had a contact in government who gave me information on seismic activity and the differences between natural occurring earth movements, etc., and, you know, nuclear weapons, nuclear detonations. And he did tell me that the Fukushima situation that happened back when they had the tsunami, that particular earth movement looked more like a nuclear detonation of sorts than a natural movement because of the way the seismograph worked. I tried to get a hold of him about this situation of a possible nuclear device being detonated in the Atlantic by officers in the military who did not want to go along with this thing with Obama. Now, we all know that, you know, there's a litmus test there as to whether military people fire on Americans and, you know, do false flags and all that. We're aware of that. But specifically, if in fact, you know, something happened in the Atlantic. Now, this source of mine is dried up. I can't get a hold of him anymore. I'm not sure why. But I'm not going to dig at him because it's probably just not a good idea. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, just on the surface of this, ladies and gentlemen, that these commanders would somehow get these nuclear weapons out of the hand of Obama and the powers that be, if that's what was going on. And then instead of setting one off in Charleston, move it, you know, out to sea and set it off out there. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why set it off at all? I'm not sure. But at any rate, if anybody out there has any information on those seismic readings back in October in the Atlantic, I'd be most interested in hearing about it. Big thing on the Kennedy assassination, of course, the cover-up that's been going on for 50 years. Anybody with, any interest in it at all can find out that, the government line is a lie. The Congress even opened it up to a conspiracy situation back in the 70s. But the powers that be keep this thing low-key because, knowledge is power and ignorance is a lack of power. It's actually worse than that. It's lack of knowledge is actually akin to, being sick and dying. But anyway, so they're out there, promulgating this old establishment line, and there are people that are trying to get out there and do something about it. If you have an inclination to get involved, that might be a good thing. Talking about Fukushima one more time, a lot of crazy things going on out there. I've been concentrating on that since it happened. People don't understand that the distances involved here don't really mean much because the radioactive half-life is so long on some of these isotopes, and the fact that the reactors keep pumping out this stuff at an alarming rate. A lot of it's going into the Pacific Ocean. At least you should, that the radiation from Fukushima has reached large levels in Hawaii. They've detected it off on the beaches there in the area of Hawaii. And of course, that whole big tsunami debris field is moving and going to make landfall on the west coast at some point in time. But the radiation's, going to be long settled across us for the last almost 3 years now. So there are some necessities here to make preparations for that eventuality. I hear a lot of apocalyptic things, and I'm not going to relate scriptures to apocalyptic things so much, other than to just use common sense, if I can. Of course, a lot of people. I had one commenter write in when I was talking about Fukushima, and he made fun of it, saying, radiation, you don't die from it in a few days. It really depends on how first of all you're exposed to it, whether it's ingested or whether it settles on you. There are all kinds of things, and not just the amount, but where it ends up in your body. So, all I would say is that you need to take precautions. Iodine, of course, for the thyroid is kind of a preliminary, but that's not the only thing. Am I doing these things? Honestly? But those of you who have young children and people that are close to you, you need to help them out to get as protected as they can. Well, I don't really have any inspiration today to speak of. I did want to bring up the Forbes article, and again, the link is below. Highlight it, copy it, and then put it in the box, where you go with your websites, and paste it there, and then hit enter, and you'll go to that. I wish I could say that. Well, I can't say it. Somber day, knowing what's ahead. Hopefully, the good people will be removed away in a safe way, in a living, loving way, from what the evil influences are attempting to now accomplish. God bless you and all of yours if you have love in your hearts and want to love your fellow man and to improve man's existence and his abundance, his life. And cursed are you who want to do the other. and destroy mankind.